on blood this night. Insufferable little wretch. Your existence is but a fleeting flame.
Right on time.
The true Lord of Darkness is upon you.
I've come to put an end to this. I'll do what is deemed necessary.
Guess who's back? Guess who's bats? Did you see those?
Guess who's bats? Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dead by Daylight's official Castlevania live stream. A big hello to everybody tuning in on Twitch and on YouTube, and a special hello to our friends in Japan who are joining us with some great translation today, so I hope you appreciate it. Today's live stream, why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so today is our most gothic live stream yet, as we'll be discussing the brand new chapter, Castlevania. That's right, Dracula and Trevor Belmont are coming to the Fog. We'll be welcoming these two legendary characters by taking a closer look at how they arrived in the Fog and getting more insight into how the first shape-shifting killer was designed.
Yep, and we're also going to be discussing the return of our very first modifier, Lights Out, which has been revised and updated and iterated upon, largely based on your feedback in the community, so thank you for that. And before we go any further with the show, well, we do have a ton of content to get through. We just wanted to say, since the last show, we made a big announcement, and we wanted to say to you, we've seen all your comments, your excitement about the Five Nights at Freddy's announcement, but I also wanted to say we can't say anything about it. Apart from it's coming in summer 2025, you'll have to stay tuned in the new year for more information, so hang tight, FNAF folks. But let's get into the run of show for the show today. We got a ton planned.
Yes, so after a quick look at some of the exciting things on the horizon, we'll have a chat with Dave Rashad, who will break down the team's process for bringing Castlevania into Dead by Daylight. Afterwards, we've got the return of Jay Guzzo, killer designer extraordinaire, with a crash course on how to be the best Dark Lord you can be,
which I really need in my personal life. So next after that, we're gonna have product director Rose Lee, one of our favorites, who's gonna share some amazing upcoming collections, including some awesome Castlevania outfits.
And after that, we'll be going over the updated Lights Out 2.0, giving you the details on everything that's changed since its first iteration. Of course, it wouldn't be a broadcast unless we closed it out by answering your questions, so please make sure you put them in the chat and stay tuned for our live Q&A segment near the end of the show.
And to steal the same phrase, it wouldn't be a broadcast if we didn't have Twitch drops, which we do, of course. Twitch drops are live right now already, running until September 10th. Look at that. We've got thematically fitting drops this time. They're super cool. So be sure to register by linking your behavior account to your Twitch account. That's all you got to do. Just follow that QR code or click the link in the chat if it's there. If you aren't familiar with Twitch drops, if you're new to Twitch, welcome. They're rewards that you unlock by watching anyone in the Dead by Daylight directory, not just this stream, but please watch this stream, with all your watch time going towards your total progression for those rewards that you see there. Today's drops are all about Castlevania. We've got the Coffin Charm for watching 1 hour, the Dominus Anger Emblem Badge for watching 3 total hours, and the Clock Tower Banner for watching 6 total hours. So excited about the drops now. There's tons of content for you today on the show, as I mentioned. So before we dive into Castlevania, we've got some updates on the other projects and games coming in the world of Dead by Daylight in our What Lies Ahead segment. So let's get to it.
All right, still here. Did you miss me? First up, let's talk about the highly anticipated and very soon to be released The Casting of Frank Stone. If you missed it, we recently debuted a new trailer at the Xbox and Gamescom live stream, and that shows off some of the exciting features that are being introduced in the game, which some are Supermassive's first ever experiences. So let's go ahead and take a look.
This place is like super duper creep town, right?
Everything's still so fuzzy about what happened, but there's one thing that always just stuck in my mind.
Sorry! I can't! Hold on! I'm coming!
This is right where my dad came face to face with Frank Stone.
I think you're starting to see what we're up against.
Your call, Chris.
Drugstore. I don't want to risk missing our chance.
Sure. Curiosity shop does look pretty cool.
We can check it out after.
Fair enough.
I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this.
After 40 years of pain, why would you choose to live with more?
You're not okay, are you?
I'm sleepwalking through a nightmare and I just can't seem to wake up.
There's no reward for me when I've done what I've got to do.
This is insane!
I can't live like this anymore. I can't live in this nightmare. Come on, come on, come on.
It's a prison. Something far older.
What is that?
That is Frank Stone.
Frank Stone, the casting of Frank Stone. It looks incredible. All of us at the studio are so excited about this release. Our friends at Supermassive are so excited about it. As you mentioned, it's got some features that haven't been in their games before. So the cutting room floor in particular, I'm excited about because I regularly make bad choices in my life. Look at me. And so that will serve me to go back in time and maybe not get my favorite character killed. So the casting of Frank Stone drops on September 3rd, literally next week. But in the meantime, we're very happy to say you can actually play, if you're interested, you can play the prologue of the game as a demo right now on Steam. We just saw before the stream, it's the #1 demo on Steam at the moment. So thank you, everyone who's checking it out. We're so excited to get this game to you. So yes, we're going to check that out. You can check that demo out today, but then next week on launch day, you can check out another live stream. That time it won't be with us, it'll be a couple friends of ours, and they're going to be playing the game, showing off new Twitch integration that lets viewers choose for you what's going to happen. So will they troll?
Absolutely.
Will they be supportive? We'll see. Another super cool feature. So, of course, if you haven't already, you can use the QR code or any links in the chat. You can go pre-order the game. There's a bunch of really cool pre-order bonus stuff, especially the Plunderer's Instinct.
Yes, and switching gears, even though I hate to, because I want to talk more Frank Stone, but quick update on Project T. We recently completed our first closed play test, and I'm happy to report it went great with a few hundred players selected to join us for a hands-on experience. Now, if you are new to Project T, this is a brand new work-in-progress 4-player co-op shooter set in the world of Dead by Daylight. Our Steam page is up and running, so you can go and wish list it after our broadcast. Don't go anywhere. But this is a game we're building alongside the community, and anyone who wants to take part of this process can sign up to be in the Project T Insider program. There's a lot of amazing first look content and opportunities to participate in future playtests. Which, speaking of, we've got another one right around the corner. It's kicking off in just a few weeks, so register today after the broadcast. And finally, a friendly reminder that anyone can join the Project T Discord, where we're sharing new content, characters, animations, and a few new things every other day. So we're posting the link in the Discord in the chat right now, so we hope to see you there.
Yeah, our colleagues, our friends are doing a great job of keeping that Discord exciting and fun. Lots of content rolling in. So we really want you to be a part of the development of Project T. So like you said, we've done our first playtest. We're going to be doing more. We're still quite early in development. So it's a really fun opportunity for people who are interested to help shape that game.
Get in on the ground floor.
Yeah, it's for us as community people, it's like a dream. So jump in if you want. Okay, so we are seeing a lot of questions in the chat. Okay, when the chapter is going to be releasing, it's going to be at 12 o'clock Eastern time today. So right now it's like 11 something. I don't know where you are in the world as you're watching, but just for reference, at 12 o'clock Eastern time is when it's going to be available. And as always, we're going to have our live Q&A at the end of the stream to make sure we can answer more questions, probably more challenging ones than that. All right, and that is it for us yapping for a little while. Now we're going to dive into bringing Castlevania into Dead by Daylight with our good friend Dave. Let's get it. Bats. It's awesome just how much is going on with this chapter, including the bats. We've got our first vampire in Dead by Daylight, our first shape-shifting killer, and on top of that, Dracula from Castlevania. Spoilers, it's all the same killer. Luckily, we've got our friend Dave to join us here again and tell us how it's all going to fit together. Dave, how are you?
I'm very good. Yourself?
I'm very warm. I'm stuck to this chair, but I'm very
absolutely
good.
Melting in it.
Yeah, it is swampy in here. So before we get into it, I hear you, Dave, and I know you, Dave, are a very big Castlevania fan, apart from our work on it. So as a fan, was it really fun to work on this?
Oh, for sure. I mean, a dream come true to be able to work on such a legendary license. I mean, a lot of us at Behavior are fans, of course. Personally, I grew up playing these games. I saw it make history, defining new genre of games. So it was also one of my first spooky horror experience. Like I remember the little zombie popping off in the 8-bit version.
It was spooky.
Quite scary for me at the time. When I played Castlevania 3, I got my first experience playing multiple characters with a narrative that was quite important for the 8-bit game era. And I was hooked right away. So our main inspiration for the chapter are Castlevania 3 for these reasons. Also Area of Sorrow for a bit of the story, of the setup, the setting that we've made for this chapter. And of course, Symphony of the Night, one of the best game of all time. I upped my list. It inspired a lot of the visuals and the vibe we're going for.
Absolutely. If you are not familiar with Castlevania, that's where I personally recommend jump into Symphony of the Night. It holds up as if it came out last year.
What
so
are
good.
you waiting for? I play it once a year. It's a tradition.
All right. So this chapter feels a little bit like a 2-for-1 in that we're getting Castlevania coming into DBD, but we're also getting Dracula himself, which is, you know, fans have wanted Dracula. So what is it about Dracula as a character that makes him perfect for the game in terms of a killer?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you said it. We think Castlevania, we think Dracula. He's the main villain, he's the boss in many of those games. Even in the games he's not the boss, he's really, really important to the plot. Before we go into the details of the teams, I just want to say that this one has been quite challenging to create, and I'm glad that we've done it like later in the story of Dead by Daylight, because we managed to actually build the dream, like what we really envisioned. Everything was kind of mature enough so that we could build it that way. Thematically, Dracula is a very complex villain, which we love to work with. His whole backstory that drives him towards hating humankind is something very compelling. Something that we can all relate to.
We all have those days.
Right? Castlevania as a whole gives us the themes of Gothic romanticism, which work really well with our universe. A creature lurking in the night, the battle between darkness and light, the feeling of something being both sacred and oppressive at the same time. It all fits perfectly in Dead by Daylight. Also, what was really interesting for us, and we really wanted to jump on the occasion, is that except for Castlevania Judgment, it's the first time in this timeline of Dracula that you are able to control him. You're able to go in his shoes and experience it. So I have to say that this has been a blast to create. The team did marvelous job to add details in there, like we always do, and we work closely with Konami, which was amazing too, to make the best chapter as possible.
Yeah, it's super cool working with Konami. How did you and the team approach the lore of Dracula and bringing him into the fog, into our game?
Yeah, so Dracula's storyline is super interesting. And of course, it's deep and there's a lot of detail. But what we'll focus on today is the fact that Dracula's been killed many times by heroes and then resurrected many times again to reappear. And that's
tricky.
Absolutely. And that's because his power is tied to the hatred in the arts of men, and also to the castle, Castlevania, which is the embodiment of his dark powers. So as long as there's hatred in the art of men and the castle, he can be revived and come back time and time again. So in 1999, in the storyline, a famous Belmont with other heroes managed to seal the castle in an eclipse. And this broke the bond between Dracula and the castle. And so when they killed him again, he disappeared for good.
Nice.
Dead for good. But we don't want that, right? We love him. So in our version of the story, the entity actually fetched the castle out of the eclipse and brought it in the realms of Dead by Daylight. Actually, that's something really cool. When you face Dracula, Castlevania is actually in the background of
looming
most
in
of
the
our
distance.
maps. Yeah, that's great to see.
It's really cool.
So it means that in the entity's realm, the bond between the castle and Dracula still exists, and so Dracula can be revived again in all of his glory.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. I mean,
so were there any must-haves that you particularly wanted to create that feeling, excuse me, of being Dracula?
Absolutely. So that was actually a challenge too, because of all of his appearance in the mini games. There's a lot of different powers we could have built, and something that was most interesting to us and made him stand out in the roster of all the killers is his transformation powers. Yeah. When I first played Symphony of the Night, that I mentioned, it's one of my favorite games of all time.
Mentioned it once or twice. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Playing as Alucard and being able to transform in this game, sorry, spoilers, as a bat, a wolf, and mist form was something that was absolutely amazing of an experience. So we wanted to take these abilities and give them to Dracula and have this, it was an incredible opportunity to create something new.
Also, spoilers, Alucard spelled backwards is... sorry, folks. Dracula. What?
No way.
Yep. So how will Dracula be able to transform in Dead by Daylight, Dave?
Yeah, so later in the stream, there's going to be a designer, Jay Guzzo, that will be talking more in details of how the power work. But I'd like to share right now the gist of it is that you can transform into 3 main forms. So, of course, you can be vampire, the Dark Lord. You can go bat and wolf form as well. And what we wanted to create, like kind of the main pillar of the gameplay, was to feel as seamless as possible, so that players would really want to switch between all the forms whenever they can, and strategize with each one, because of course each form has some specific gameplay and strategy in mind. The goal was to create something fast and fluid that feels like a combo when swapping back and forth.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, there's also a little bit more than transformation. We've also have a little bit more of his dark arts in there. He's using fire, as you'll see a little bit later. This is magic, and I'd like to say that just like when we introduced magic in Dungeons and Dragons chapter, we wanted to make sure that Dracula's magic is represented in a visceral, horrific way, Dead by Daylight way.
Yeah.
So we focused on elements of curses, revenge, fire that are in line with the character and with our universe.
This is definitely the year magic came to Dead by Daylight. So let's flip over to Survivor side and talk about Trevor Belmont. He's our survivor with this chapter. I'm wondering, maybe some folks are wondering, how did we land on Trevor? There's so many characters you could choose from. There's Simon Belmont. You mentioned Alucard earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're here since the beginning of the broadcast, you've seen that we actually couldn't resist and we didn't stop with Trevor. Trevor is the main survivor. He is the character, but we also managed to get other characters playable through cosmetic, which Rose will talk about later. But yeah, we chose Trevor because he is the ultimate Belmont. He represents a lot of what the Belmont clan stand for, who they are, what are their values. So in his storyline, he and his family, they were exiled. They were deemed dangerous. They were potentially even cursed. And despite this, when they begged him to come back and protect them, he sacrificed everything to fight against Dracula and save humanity. So these are the values that makes him both a hero and a Belmont. And we tried to craft his personality, perk, and appearance around this. Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, was also a milestone for us, like in the story for that, because it introduced Trevor, and we see him having to build a team to be able to face Dracula and be victorious. And this vulnerability really is akin to our survivors in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, he really feels like the perfect pick now that you kind of lay it out like that, for sure. So how did Trevor find his way into the fog?
Oh, that's quite interesting. So in his storyline, Trevor will appear in many times in Castlevania, and he faces and vanquishes Dracula twice, actually. And eventually he retires, and we imagine that he continues the bloodline, because of course we need more Belmont for these other games and to save humanity once again. So in our timeline, we take him out of his retirement, and we put the bloodline in jeopardy. So Trevor really has this really good reason to survive, fight, and potentially escape the world of the entity.
The entity is such a jerk, like ruining his retirement? Come on.
Huge jerk, yes.
Come on. Dave, thank you so much. This was super fun.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Before we sit down with Jay, as you mentioned, to talk about the gameplay side of Dracula, Dork is going to join us back on the couch, and I'm going to go dunk myself in a bucket of ice water to cool down. Dave, thank you again.
It was an absolute pleasure. I can't wait for the players to see what our amazing team built.
Awesome. Take it away, Dork.
All right, and I'm back. Thanks so much, Dave. I love the approach that we're taking with these characters and the games and how we're pulling inspiration from them. Everyone should play Symphony of the Night at least once.
Agreed. And I have not dunked myself in the bucket of ice water. I forgot I had to remind people that we have a live Q&A later in the show that Dork and I will be doing. So do get your questions into the chat, and we're going to try to answer as many of them as we can get to during the show. So that said, now we are going to check in with Jay Guzzo, the gameplay designer for Dracula, and you.
With me.
Let's check it out. So, how shiny.
Just how Dracula and Trevor Belmont came into the fog, it's time to talk gameplay. Joining me is Jay, one of our killer designers here at Dead by Daylight, to talk about the team's approach in making Dracula our first shape-shifting killer. So welcome back to the couch.
Hi there, thanks for having me.
So before we get into it, I've got to ask, were you a fan of Castlevania before working on this chapter?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, who isn't a fan of Castlevania? I remember the originals being these super tough games from when I was young, and of course, Symphony of the Night holds a real special place in my heart. A friend and I played through that game together over kind of a long period of time, so it's just one of those games I have such fond memories of.
All right. And the idea of focusing on Dracula's shape-shifting ability for our killer power one is very cool. And as we said a couple of times, is a big first for Dead by Daylight. So kind of drawing from those fond memories, did you find any principles that you wanted to stick to when kind of adding this to our world and seeing how it would work?
Yeah, so when I approach designing a killer, I try to think of things in terms of the experience pillars. What will the experience be like for the person playing as Dracula, but also what's the experience for the person playing against him as a survivor? So for survivors, our experience pillar was, very obviously, we wanted Dracula, playing against Dracula to feel like a boss fight. You're facing off against the big bad, and he has all these different forms and powers and tools at his disposal to really wreak havoc and catch you by surprise.
Okay.
For the killer, on the other hand, it was all about making you feel powerful, but not like in the strength level way, but this is the Dark Lord, the big bad, as I said, the kind of villain who walks into a room and the music stops. He's regal, he's vicious, and really the only reason he accepts being in the fog is because it's kind of a fun way to hunt humans.
I love that he does this out of pure entertainment. So can you give us a couple of examples, some details of how you guys incorporated this into the game to help players feel this way?
Yeah, so for his vault animations, for example, we didn't want him to use his legs. That's something the lowly humans would do.
Immortals.
Exactly, absolutely. Instead, we created this mist animation that kind of lets him pass through and reappear on the other side. It's this little detail, but as the player, it really kind of makes you feel powerful, and it sells the idea that Dracula is this force of nature and the survivors should be terrified.
All right. So can you tell us a bit about how Dracula's shape-shifting power works here and the differences in the gameplay between them?
Oh, yeah, sure. So first, to showcase the power functions, I've prepared a little handy visual guide.
Oh, okay.
Note that it's using the mouse and keyboard inputs, so the buttons will be a little bit different than on the controller, but I'll grab it here, bring it on up. I don't know if we can see it. I don't want to get in the way here. So as for the forms themselves, the vampire, I'll see if I can make sure I point to the right place. The vampire form is obviously his default. His main power is a variation on one of his classic attacks, the Hellfire. It's these pillars of flame that erupt out of the floor ahead of him, kind of make him this kind of close to mid-range killer. And it lets the killer block off areas and kind of zone a little bit, but we're making sure it's not kind of just only a zoning tool.
Okay.
And then next is his wolf form, little doggy over here.
Bark, bark.
And he's built around tracking. When it comes to the wolf's gameplay, we really wanted you to feel like you were on the hunt here, stalking your prey. So we built the mechanics around that. As the wolf, you can see enhanced views of blood pools and scratch marks. Running survivors will also drop what we call scent orbs that give you a general direction or a general idea of the direction they were moving, and they also give you a little boost in speed for a short period of time, and they'll take off big old chunks of the cooldown of the wolf's main attack, the pounce. And the pounce lets you build up this kinetic energy, and you lunge forward. And if you don't hit anything, you get a small window to readjust your aim and try it again. It's a big hitter. It's super fun to pull off from the shadows and kind of get some good scares and hits.
Yeah, it'll definitely get me. But I think that leaves the very last classic form.
The bat. Yeah, so playing as the bat is really all about traversal. Sorry, all the way down there. I can't quite reach. So he's all about traversal, so he doesn't have an attack in this form. You get a big speed increase, and you can ignore vault points, so you go right through down pallets and windows, and you have a little teleport that allows you to pick a vault point within a certain distance. You turn into mist, and you re-emerge out there. As the bat, you are undetectable. You won't, but to kind of balance that out, you won't be able to see survivors, just their scratch marks. So as a counter, you have enhanced hearing, so you can hear footsteps much more loudly, and the bat even has his own unique directional lullaby, so while he doesn't have a terror radius, you can hear the bat wings and the squeaks kind of getting louder and moving around you, and it can be pretty intimidating.
Yeah, I'm ready to be intimidated.
So the idea is to really use all of these shape-shifting tools together and try to take a methodical approach to tracking down survivors, getting in close, and getting your hits in.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this amazing work of art. Don't know when it's going to hit the merch store. But so kind of going back to the other stuff. So if you're a Castlevania fan and you've never played Dead by Daylight before, is this a killer that you could just pick up and have a good time with?
Yeah, absolutely. So finding a balance where new and veteran players can both have a great time with the character is obviously one of the most challenging parts of the job. If you're new to DBD or just to the killer, you can approach it kind of however you want. My recommendation is you focus on one form. Typically, it would be the vampire form. Kind of get used to it, and honestly, you can find a little bit of success just that way. And then once you get really used to kind of the timings and the cooldowns and whatever, you can start integrating the other forms into your kind of rotation of play. For our veteran players, on the other hand, the skill ceiling really comes from mastering all of those tools and forms and keeping track of all the cooldowns and just playing to their strengths, really. Doing this well should really create this kind of really fun, fluid play style for this killer and hopefully be a great challenge for existing players.
All right. Well, since we always like to end these segments with some pro tips, what are the advice that you would give for players playing as or against Dracula?
So as Dracula, as I mentioned, get used to rotating between your forms. Everything's on a cooldown, or on an individual cooldown, I guess. So play around them, switch forms. You probably have a power available to you somewhere. So you combine all these things to keep the map covered as effectively as possible and do what you can to make those dirty humans know their place. For survivors, it's all about using your senses. When Dracula changes forms, we try to give you a lot of feedback in terms of audio and visual cues. So we try to provide that to the player in this way so they can tell what state the killer is in. So really just learn those cues and keep your ears and eyes open.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jay, for walking us through all of that. That was amazing, and I loved the doodle. So this is a killer with the power, and we had a ton of awesome gameplay to cover. Obviously, we didn't have time to go over the perks, but a quick reminder that you can head over to deadbydaylight.com so you can get the download on all of that after our broadcast. Don't go anywhere. And you can learn more about Dracula and Trevor Belmont. So up next, I'll be joined on the couch with Rose to give us a breakdown of all the upcoming collections we've got, so stay tuned. A big thanks to Jay for, in our last segment, breaking down how to play as Dracula. Now we'll be looking at some of the upcoming collections, and we've got some amazing outfits to show you. So, to do so, I'll be joined on the couch with...
Hello everyone, I'm Rose Lee, product director on the store, and I'm super happy to be here today to talk to you about all of the upcoming collections.
Thank you so much for taking the time, Rose, and I'm super excited to be jumping into this, starting with some of the classic looks and iconic characters from the Castlevania series. So we certainly had our work cut out for us, and we couldn't be more excited with all of the results. I mean, you guys are about to see, it's amazing. So what can we expect with the Castlevania collection?
Well, to start, we have several new outfits for both Trevor Belmont and Dracula, and it was super hard narrowing down the ones that we wanted to use. There's just so many of them.
Yeah, I noticed exactly because they're such great, very rare outfits, especially for Trevor. Well, we'll talk about in a second. But I'm sure Castlevania fans would like to hear about the legendary we have for him.
Yes, Trevor Belmont's legendary outfit is a fan favorite many will recognize. It's Alucard.
I can't believe it.
The son of Dracula, who's also the main protagonist from the classic Symphony of the Night. He's getting a unique model, he's getting glowing eyes, new voice lines, and even, look at that, a badass cape.
It's badass. It is indeed. All right, so can you tell us about the other outfits inspired by the other iconic Belmonts?
Yeah, so Trevor's other outfits are also really interesting. He's getting two very rares, presented in the likeness of Simon Belmont and Leon Belmont. They aren't legendary outfits, however, so they aren't technically new characters. It's Trevor wearing their clothes.
Okay, so it's Trevor cosplaying in different outfits.
Exactly.
All right, I love that. So obviously we can't forget about the Dark Lord himself. So what do we have for Dracula?
For Dracula, ultimately we drew from a wide variety of inspirations. He has two very rare outfits inspired by his look from Castlevania Chronicles and Dracula X, both of which feature this regal, intimidating, and gothic aesthetic. All of the outfits for Dracula and Trevor Belmont are being released in the store today alongside the chapter. You can see all of them being presented here. But if you thought that was all to it, we're not done yet.
We're not done. Okay, tell me more.
So to top off this collection, even our original characters are getting in on the Castlevania vibe. We're getting new outfits for Michaela and Kate. So to start with Michaela's outfit, hers was inspired by Sypha, as you can see here.
It's beautiful.
We referred from a pixelated art to start with, and then the team just built off from that and got this. And we also have Kate's outfit inspired by Maria Bernard.
That's awesome.
So these outfits won't be releasing right away, however. They'll be releasing alongside Lights Out 2.0.
All right, and we'll share more about Lights Out 2.0 in our upcoming segment. But wow, these Castlevania looks are stunning. Very demure. That's not all that's coming, though. So it turns out we have another horror legend that's getting an awesome, disturbing new outfit, correct?
Yes, the Friends Till the End collection is getting a new outfit for, you guessed it, Chucky. And fans of the TV series might recognize this one from when he was in a house fire during season 1. But we also designed a new weapon for him.
All right. Yeah, he looks terrifying.
Yeah, it's the third outfit from this collection, and it's a very rare. It's releasing on September 3rd.
Okay. So next up is the return of the Fire Moon Festival collection, as well as the exciting Gameplay Expo. So let's start with the Fire Moon.
Yeah, so Fire Moon is back with new outfits for the Spirit, Astri, and Jake. The essence of the collection remains essentially the same, but we're always happy to be adding new looks for characters that attended the festival. It will be released on September 17th. So to start, we know that players really like the Spirit's traditional garments, so we created a new outfit trying to really lean into that lunar inspiration. Look at the gown she has here.
It's beautiful.
We also have a new outfit for our Bard character, Astri, and for this one, we really spent a lot of time on her instrument because we wanted to make sure it looked really unique.
I love that.
And of course, we can't forget our original survivor, Jake, who's also getting a new outfit in the Fire Moon collection, and it shows his understated sense of style.
That is awesome. I love those pants. All right. So these outfits, again, are releasing September 17th. So last up, let's talk about the Gameplay Expo.
So Gameplay Expo is another returning collection. For killers, we have the Trickster, who's getting some new colors. He's also getting a really cool new bat there. We also are getting an arcade machine singularity.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And for survivors, we also have cute new outfits for both Nia and Yui. You can check them out on September 24th.
All right. Well, thank you so much for going through all of that with me, Rose. I cannot wait to get my hands on these outfits, and I know our players can't wait either. So if you want to learn more about the details of all these collections that we've talked about, head over to deadbydaylight.com and go to the latest collections page. That'll show you each outfit alongside the collection's release date. So next up, Eric and I will be on the couch to talk about everything Lights Out 2.0 after we do a little check-in, little pop-in. But thank you so much, Rose, for walking me through that, and I can't wait to see everyone's reactions.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, I'm over here now. Before we move into Lights Out 2.0, we wanted to take a moment to tell you about the next tome that's coming to Dead by Daylight, and it's going to be a special one. The team here has had an absolute pleasure, just a blast working on the Castlevania chapter, so we decided why stop there. So we're excited to announce that our upcoming tome is going to be Castlevania themed as well, like the whole thing. So here's our first look at Tome 21, Dominus.
There it is. I see more bats. Dominus is going to be packed. Oh, God, my voice. Sorry. Dominus is going to be packed with awesome rewards and outfits for you to earn, obviously. So if you love the latest chapter, you're really going to like what's going into the tome. A lot of the outfits in the tome are based around the protagonists of the Castlevania Nintendo DS titles. Little fun fact of trivia for you. And the team did an amazing job bringing them to Dead by Daylight. We've even got a sneak peek right now for some concept art of those pieces. So we have here Soma Cruz, the rebirth of Dracula himself. Soma will be a legendary outfit for Trevor Belmont. Next up, we have a legendary outfit for Dracula. My God, look at that. We've got the true form, driven by an insatiable appetite to destroy all of humankind. Again, Dracula is just so relatable. All right, next, here it is, Shanoa's dress. A warrior trained from a young age to one day destroy Count Dracula will be a very rare outfit for Yui.
Definitely copping that one.
Yes. Next, Joshua's attire, brash young hero and wielder of the legendary whip. Vampire Killer will be a very rare outfit for Felix. And finally, Death's Cloak. Look at it. Oh my God. Dracula's right-hand man will be a very rare outfit for the nurse.
Yeah, that Jonathan's attire for Felix, like, oh my God.
They're so
good. So good.
The team's having fun with all these cosmetics.
So much fun. So be sure, just switching gears a little bit, be sure to check out the Haunted by Daylight live stream.
Nice.
It's going to be in October, where we'll be giving you all the details, so stay tuned. Now, let's talk about the upcoming modifier, Lights Out 2.0.
Bats. Got it. Hey, scared of the dark, dork? You're gonna be, because Lights Out is back, and this time it's got a gothic twist.
I'm super excited, but I hear that there's something different this time around.
Oh, yes. So we mentioned right at the start when we started doing these modifiers, the intention is to be iterating on them. So they're calling this Lights Out 2.0. So Lights Out 2.0 is just as immersive and thrilling as before, but we've applied a lot of the feedback we got from the community from that first go-round. So like the last time, if you weren't here for it, there are no perks, no HUD, no terror radius, no scratch marks, and of course, no light, for the most part. You're basically on your own. So this time around, we also added some new maps, Dead Dog Saloon and Greenville Square, as well as a new item, which I'd love to hear from you about.
Sure thing. So, of course, in Lights Out 2.0, survivors will spawn with a lantern. But since it's Castlevania themed, it's a candelabra. Ooh. It's very cool, very demure. The lantern essentially allows survivors to find the closest generator and reveal its aura within 32 meters. While holding one, you'll also be able to get a glimpse at survivor actions, briefly giving back that HUD that we know and love as survivors. Survivors can place these lanterns on top of generators, which will reveal the aura to other nearby survivors, and completing a generator with the lantern on top will prevent the killer from seeing generator auras for a little bit.
Okay, so clearly the lantern is going to be very handy in this mode.
Very handy if you can keep your hand on it, that is. Because in this iteration, killers will be able to knock items out of the survivor's hands by downing them, kind of think Franklin's demise. They can also destroy a lantern that has been placed on top of a generator.
That's awesome. So we're hoping it's going to lead to some exciting back and forth gameplay, and you might be wondering, why did we make these changes? So we mentioned the modifiers are iterative. We really took a lot of the feedback that the folks gave us way back when 1.0 came out to ensure that balance was better with 2.0 and fun for both sides. So one of the biggest complaints that we got at the time was that killers could see the generator auras while the survivors could not, which gave killers a significant advantage. With a change that we've just talked about, the addition of the lantern, we think that the playing field should be a lot more balanced now.
All right, we also made the change to increase the range of the anti-camp feature, as we noticed that some players were taking advantage of the distance. So hopefully these changes will help to make Lights Out 2.0 the best experience it can be. So look out for that to drop on September 12th and complete the brand new event tome that will unlock some Castlevania-themed badge and banner and an original lantern charm. So without further ado, that was a lot of information. So let's go ahead and see what questions you've dropped in the chat that we can answer on today's stream.
Bats. It's not what I intended, but my timing was off. Hey, we talked Castlevania, shape-shifting vampires, Frank Stone, Project T, new collections, and Lights Out 2.0. That's a ton of stuff.
So much.
So let's get to the questions we've seen so far. We've been tracking them in the chat over the course of the show. We'll try to answer as many as of the most frequently asked ones that we've seen before we wrap up the show. So let's dive in. I'll ask, you answer.
Sure.
Or, yeah, we'll see what happens. No, you ask, I'll answer.
Okay, we'll switch it up this time.
Yeah, we'll switch it up.
All right, so when is the next batch of perks reworks happening?
Oh, that's a great question. So we put out a live design roadmap earlier this month, which is on our official forums, where you can get the more information on what specifically we're currently working on. You can definitely expect quite a large bunch of perks to be updated later this year. Team's been cooking. Performance and yeah, I'm sorry, I've got my answer here. We're going to assess if any further changes need to be done to the perks after that, too. All right, now I'm going to ask a question.
Okay.
Because I'm clearly inept at answering them. When can we expect information on the finisher Mori?
So we're planning to share more information with our next release, so please stay tuned to our official channels for more information as it becomes available. You will be the first to know.
Yes. Okay, you take this one.
All right. So when will Bardic Inspiration be fixed?
Oh, this one's a dunk. Thank you. Bardic Inspiration is going to be fixed in today's release at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. So moments from now.
You can get back to playing amazing melodies while your friends are working on the gin or serenading them on Death Hook.
Yep.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so we're actually going to wrap things up. It's been a really great show, and we hoped that you enjoyed the Dead by Daylight Castlevania live stream. Lights Out 2.0 looks incredible. And to close things out, we've actually got one last announcement that I teased on Twitter. I told people if they're nice to us, we would give them an update on one of our other modifiers.
Ooh, so I get to have the slam dunk now, the big W. One of the best responses we've gotten to date has been for our recent modifier, Random Perks, aka Chaos Shuffle, which got a ton of love when it came out and even more questions about if and when it would come back. Well, we're happy to announce that you can get ready to leave your fate in the claws of chance all over again very, very soon. As Chaos Shuffle is indeed coming back exactly the way it was, so no changes,
right.
For the 2-week stretch, this time coming from September 24th to October 8th.
If it was Chaos Shuffle 2.0, we would have done a whole thing. You would have heard us talking endlessly about it. But it was like, do we bring back Chaos Shuffle right now because people are asking for it? Or do we wait till we can cook up 2.0, which is the team is doing now? Why wait if people really liked the previous version? So that's why we're bringing it back earlier than expected.
So excited to get No Mither.
Yeah. But for now, the Castlevania chapter is, I don't know the exact time we have right now on set, but it's moments away or is available. Okay, 9 minutes, thank you. In Dead by Daylight in 9 minutes. So go pick that up, play as Dracula, Trevor Belmont, and keep an eye out for Lights Out 2.0, as we mentioned, which is coming quite soon.
Yes, so with all that said, thank you so much for watching. Thank you once again to our Japanese audience for watching. Shout out to everyone involved in today's stream. We'll be rating the King on Twitch, so you can keep earning those Twitch drops. And as always, we'll see you in the fog. Stay safe out there.
Shout out King. Enjoy your 8 minutes.